back at the barracks.
We're back.
We're back at the accommodation. Yeah. So, resilience code.
Yeah.
Yeah. Day one recce. How's it gone for you?
Done. Wow. Yeah. Really good. I think. Firstly, I'll just say that I've been to Snowdon before and I've done it a few times, but it just never fails to amaze me the beauty of the place. Like seeing it in this weather. You know, admittedly, it was pretty shocking when we arrived, but then it amazingly got really lovely and beautiful and sunny, so I think we've seen it in all weathers today.
I think it's still beautiful in those conditions because you're so high up and your views, every time you look around it's different.
Yeah.
So I like the variety of it.
Yeah.
Definitely for that. So did you achieve what you thought you were today?
For sure. I think we've done part of Snowdon. We've seen the accommodation, which is pretty amazing. We visited the areas that we're going to be conducting some of the cold water immersion therapies. We even got to visit Pete's Eats, which I understand is
famous cafe
for climbers, which was an interesting experience as well.
Yeah. A lot of history, isn't it? I mean, I was conscious. I was driving down Llanberis Pass, and I was sort of sharing all these knowledge. I was being that geek. I haven't spent a lot of time in this area, but it's just fascinating. And coming back for the first time in a few years for me, it was almost like a trip down memory lane for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So did you find the history quite?
Yeah, massively.
Insightful?
It is. Yeah. I mean, I didn't know half of what you were telling me, so it was.
What? Because you couldn't understand me, or
no, not that. But yeah, it's super interesting. You don't realise how much has gone on here, and what just a beautiful place it is.
Oh, it's stunning. It's probably as close to the Alps, I think, as you're going to get in the UK, and just that little pocket of, especially northwest Snowdonia, is absolutely stunning.
But I think you feel quite connected, don't you? I don't know about you, but as we were walking, partly up Snowdon, I felt this. I don't know what it was, just a connection with. I don't want to sound too spiritual because I'm not a massively spiritual person, but there's definitely something about connecting with the elements for sure.
Yeah, back in touch with nature, isn't it? And just I think there's the element of walking and moving under your own steam.
Yeah.
I think there's a case of putting on the right equipment for the conditions, so you're taking control of it. You're in control of that, and then taking over nature where you're walking up steep terrain or on paths and you're conquering it. And I think that is a message about the resilience code. Is it's about getting everybody to the top of that mountain on day 2, which we'll talk about later on, where they've got that sense of achievement. And it's not just about getting to the summit, it's the journey getting there. And it's life, isn't it?
It is.
You might have a goal in life, but it's not about the goal, it's about the journey.
Yeah.
And then the goal was amazing, and then we reset and go again.
Yeah, how we get there. Yeah, for sure.
It's part of the bigger piece. So conscious of people, we know what it is because obviously we've designed it, but people watching this, right, Snowdon, I've heard a little bit about cold water immersion, I've heard a little bit about climbing the mountain in Snowdon and learning theories, and they might have read stuff online with our websites and our posts, but somebody maybe stumbling across this for the first time, how has this come about? How has the resilience code come about?
So the resilience code is essentially the next step to the other codes that have been launched. So under the Euphrenity banner, we've got the emotion code, which is the 90-day sort of high-level view of what Euphrenity is.
90 minutes, yeah?
90 minutes, sorry, 90 minute. And then we've got the full 1-day workshop. And in each of those, what I do is I share essentially the formula and the equation for euphoria and serenity, hence Euphrenity. And to obtain that formula, there's obviously a number of steps and various different things. And I'll add at this point, this is not something that I've dreamt up. This has been endorsed by a hospital, the National Hospital of Neurology and Neurosurgery, which I've been working with down in London for about 3 years now, on the emotion code and on Euphrenity.
So straight away when you're saying that, I think it's, what a level of sort of authority when you've got a hospital of that standard signing it off. That's incredible. So how did your relationship with them come about?
So I had some brain surgery in 2016 just to remove a benign brain tumour.
Just to remain it,
yeah. Which was, a pretty epic challenge, I guess, to take part in for myself. Yeah. But that wasn't, I always talk about the brain surgery being amazing, it changed my life, but I don't think that was what changed my life. I think what came after that, working with the hospital and developing Euphrenity and working on the emotion code with the hospital, learning how we can regulate our own emotions and how we can attain different emotions that we haven't been or we don't necessarily use. Yeah,
and I'm conscious that people watching this probably think we're skipping past the story, but we know it's quite a key part of the resilience code itself, isn't it? And sharing your personal story. So we're not going to go into too much depth there, but I know that you had some personal challenges, which didn't you lose the ability to speak? Is that right? Lost the ability to speak? Yeah, which must have been incredibly challenging, especially when you've got 2 little ones. But I said we'll expand on that over the 2 days. But you're saying about these codes, this process, if you like. So is there certain sort of elements of that you've brought together, the three parts?
Yeah, so Euphrenity, the teachings of Euphrenity, there's three, I guess, foundations or pillars of Euphrenity. And what they are is conscious living, elevation of the right hemisphere, and then extrapolation of personal element. So if I was to explain those, I guess, in more simplistic terms.
Yes, please.
So your conscious living is essentially growth. So learning about yourself, stopping those old habits holding you back, your subconscious mind holding you back, all the conditioned thoughts that we've got that prevent us from doing the things that perhaps we should be doing.
Oh, okay. So my mind straight away was conscious living, was living in the now. Let's be more mindful around that. And I know there's a lot of work around mindfulness, etc. But I suppose you're looking at going into that a bit more depth and giving a bit more understanding of why those things in the past are stopping us doing the things now.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Because I think that's the piece that we often skip. It's about understanding why we're not living in the now. Once we understand that, that's when we can do it. And
that's where it crosses over with us, because I think sometimes people think it's got to be something like, and it could be trauma, or it could be, you know, a bit of guilt and remorse, etc. But it can be some of the smaller things, can't it? You know, some of the things that maybe we haven't discussed or flushed out, or chatted with, or overcome yet. We haven't dealt with it. And it does become that little anchor that holds us back and stops us fulfilling our potential, or even succeeding, whatever success means to them. So some people just want to be happy, some people just want to be content, some people don't want to be rich, some want to be famous. It doesn't matter what it means, you know, it's still the same process, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so that one makes sense and that resonates. What was the second one again, sorry?
So that's elevation of right hemisphere. Okay. So essentially, that is about the present, being in the now. The right side of our brain is where we are completely present. The left side is more about the past, the future, all of that. So I think as a human species, as a race, what's happened over the course of evolution is we've become more left-brained than we have right-brained.
Okay.
So that's because of a number of things, society, rules, algorithms of life, things like that. So back in the days, I guess, when we were running around on the savannas, we had equilibrium in our brains. We were quite creative. We were very, very present. But now we're so much more left-brained, and we're losing the ability almost to be present, to be creative, because we're so restricted, I think, by society and culture. So in that part of it, I teach how to be more creative, how to be more present, how to be more mindful. And there's a lot of different ways we teach that. So, I mean, you know, we've got hypnotherapy as part of that.
Yeah, what I was thinking was, as you were chatting there, because it's natural, isn't it? This is part of it. And my mind started wandering. As you were saying things, my brain was making connections. And I was thinking about, well, you know, we conform in general life, because obviously there's law. You know, to have money, you need to have a bank account and things like that. There's things we have to do. But also I think organisations play a big part in this. Massively, in terms of process. Let's make it a process, because the business needs to be scalable, repeatable and standardised. And that's fantastic for creating a base. But then once it might be a bit of a loose term, but I call it process monkey, you know, where anybody can do process, but it's the bits around that make us human.
Of course it is.
It's the ones that can look at a process and go, do you know what, whilst that is the process, it's not quite right, so I either need to feed it into the process owner, or I need to solutionise around it, or I need to have a conversation and have that human interaction to go, I know this process is set for this, but I think this scenario is different. And I think, and then we can go on to effective leadership and management, to be open to that conversation. That was a different challenge in itself. But it's engaging that, because I think it is a skill. And skills learned. And if we're not using it, we're going to lose it. Exactly. That's for sure. Yeah, for sure.
That's
right.
What's happening.
Yeah, right. Perfect. So I get that bit. All right. And what was the third one? Sorry.
So extrapolation. That's right. A personal element. So essentially, this is about intuition. This is about tuning back in with ourselves, and to what you've just said. If you don't use it, you lose it.
Yeah.
I think that's exactly what's happened with our intuition. I think it's the biggest superpower we have. I don't think we listen to it anymore. I don't think we trust ourselves. So part of that is undercovering our intuition. And one of the key things we do in the teachings of that is, like you've heard of value alignment. So we try and unearth people's true intrinsic values. So we try and understand what really makes people tick. What is the thing that they love? What makes them come alive? And for everyone, their values are going to be very different. But I think there's so many junk values around, so many extrinsic values, so much noise, sort of I guess, conditioning us to believe what our values should be.
Yeah.
And actually, it's about realising what they really are and what they truly are.
What's important to you. Yeah. And I think that's what I'm guessing where you're going with that is the fact that if you're probably a bit down at the moment or you're a bit stressed, it's probably because your values are not aligned. You're probably doing something that you don't really value.
Yeah.
So I'll give you an example in terms of a day-to-day then. So one of my main values, which I've learned, over the years I've done personal development, is freedom.
Yeah.
I quite like having the flexibility. I suppose there's an element of control in there, and that's not an excuse for not doing something, though, if that makes sense. So my freedom is I should be able to do what I want whenever I want.
Yeah.
But life doesn't work that way.
No,
I still have to go to the doctors on time. I still have to sit down and do my admin, and do my accounts and all the other bits and everything else. But that's just self-discipline then, knowing that I'm not going to enjoy it, but I have to do it for now to allow me to be free.
Exactly.
Yeah, is that what we're talking about?
Yeah,
okay, I got you. And that's why I suppose if you're in a job or a career that maybe is not resonating at the minute, it's probably because it's trying to push you down an avenue of doing the things you don't like doing more regularly.
Yeah.
So that's really stressful, isn't it?
The sort of things that, play with our mind, and we become in places where we're just not happy. So it's about truth. But, people find themselves in jobs that they don't particularly enjoy because they don't really know what their values are. People are confused by them. Because like I say, there's so much noise telling us what our values should be.
Yeah.
So that's a really crucial part of the teachings, I think.
Yeah, great. So just to replay the three of them then. So the way I was listening to it, so getting used to living in the now. So let's not worry too much about the future because that can cause stress in itself.
Yeah.
Let's deal with what's happened in the past so we can be more present. Let's try and be a bit more creative and be able to engage that part of the brain that creates solutions. But you can only truly do that when you're living in the moment.
Of course you can.
Otherwise that baggage is going to stop you from being creative.
Yeah.
And then the last element is all about being balanced, I suppose. Is that a fair one?
I think tuning back into yourself.
Back in, yeah. Understanding your gut feeling and your tuition and intuition, yeah. Well, yeah, they all sit together, don't they?
They do.
Sit
and
together,
then coupled with obviously your teachings, the human performance aspect of it, I think it, dovetails really nicely, doesn't it?
Well, I think it creates a fantastic foundation. I think if you're looking at, human performance from an elite level, let's go right top end, so really high performers, they've normally got a solid base to work from.
Yeah.
So take that as a principle. Some of the key elements of human performance can make huge differences, but you need to have that solid base. And I think if we work on and develop those three pillars of yours, and then take some of the growth mindset, the positive psychology, the understanding of neurology and neuroscience around performance gains now, I think it's going to be like rocket fuel really for some people. It's going to be really enlightening and empowering because I think there's a lot of people out there, and they might be listening to this and they might resonate that are struggling right now. And maybe they don't know where to go, they don't know who to talk to, they don't know what's causing it, and they're just in that, they feel probably on that hamster wheel. And that's very much, certainly when you table this idea to let you know, well, how can we bring a series together? How can we get people, how can we get bring this learning to life through experience? It certainly really resonated with me, and I think that's where the synergy is between what we're both doing. Great. So if people listening to this, they're really interested and intrigued in your elements and what we can do, we're obviously going to support you with our background within the mountaineer and the safety of getting these guys up Snowdon. What can they expect over the 2 days? So,
I mean, I always say it's a transformational journey of self-discovery, and I think that's pretty fair reflection of what it is. People will be challenged. People will be faced with things that they perhaps have buried and need unearthing, but with the right support around them to do that. And people will achieve things that I don't think they ever thought they would. And I'm not just talking about climbing the mountain, I'm talking about other things like the cold water therapies and various things like that. So lots and lots of different things, but overall very much a transformational experience. And also they're going to be provided with tools, easy to apply tools that they can take away with them to help others and continue in their own journey with.
Sounds exciting. I think I need to sign up for it, actually. Never mind, deliver it. Sounds amazing. So big picture then, we're not going into the details. So what's the rough sort of flow of the 2 days then? So the people travel, they arrive? They
arrive on the Thursday, just after lunch. They arrive at the venue where we're going to be based for 2 days, which is a beautiful hotel.
So that gives them the Thursday morning to travel, I guess. So
absolutely.
That makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, then they'll be obviously greeted by you and I, who will go through a group sort of brief. The first day is very much about theory-based learning, so we're going to cover a lot of neuroscience, which covers the three elements: the conscious living, the right hemisphere, and the extrapolation of element. We're going to then go into the evening of the first day, where we're going to go. I'm not going to ruin this because we're going to take them on a little surprise, aren't we?
Yes.
Which is going to be quite exciting. We're going to do a night navigation to just get them acclimatised. Maybe a drink in the bar or two, I don't know. See how people feel.
Yeah.
Wake up the next morning. Obviously, all the health and safety stuff around Snowdon, and then we're going to start the ascent, I think, about 8 o'clock in the morning. Depending on how long that will take, I've kind of put some time aside, 4 or 5 hours, 6 maybe tops, get back down again. Hot debrief, bit of a run through how we think it went. And then people are probably going to be pretty tired because, as well, what I've not mentioned is, as part of the ascent and the climb and the descent as well, we're going to be doing a little bit of theory learning still, aren't we? And we'll have time to have one-on-ones with people, which I think is really important as part of a group retreat. And then a celebratory meal. Day 2, we wake up, people are probably going to be a little bit sore, a little bit achy, so we're going to take them on a recovery swim, cold water recovery swim. And then it will just be a case of wrapping up what we've learned. People probably coming up with action plans and things to take away with them. And then people will be on their way on the Saturday afternoon.
Sounds brilliant. I mean, I think a lot of, sounds fantastic. What if people have got some concerns? So I'm thinking, well, I'm not sure I can climb the mountain, or I can't swim very well. I'm not sure I like cold water. I'm not sure I want to chat to people. What sort of words of encouragement or more information can you give them to assure them this is right for them?
So before people sign up for us, what will happen is we'll have a call with them to understand what they're hoping to get out of it, and there'll be a basic sort of questionnaire to see if they are, I don't want to say fit enough for the task, because I think everyone is capable of doing this pretty much. But if people do have some concerns, what I'm trying to say is we'll have time to go through a sort of one-on-one over the telephone with them to iron out any concerns they have. And I think, we'll be able to put their mind at rest.
Okay, but from my perspective, from a safety perspective, for the guys that maybe are thinking along the lines of my questions there, it's not a race to the top of the summit. It's a group walk. We want to get everybody there together, and we want to summit together. We want to have great photos and that sense of achievement, and we want to get everybody back down safely together as well. So it's not going to be a race. Those that are potentially physically stronger, they've got other roles to play, haven't they, within the teams, which we'll offer up. They can support others. If you're a bit concerned about swimming in a cold water, don't worry. You're not going out sort of 50 meters out and then swimming back in. It's fairly shallow, as it were, but they will be immersed in cold water, and again that'll be done supervised. We've got
a Kundalini yoga expert who'll be joining us on the retreat, who's going to help people with their breath work so that they're fully prepared for this. And again, they were provided with tools that they can take away into their life and continue with the Kundalini breathing.
And that's the message in itself. When you've got the right tools, you can overcome fears, can't you? You can overcome obstacles. And if you're concerned about getting into a cold water lake, it's going to be fantastic for your muscles because you're aching for the next day, or any blisters you may potentially have. But more than that, take control of your breath work and then implementing it, and then realising, well, actually, it can help me regulate my body and regulate my temperature. Then that's a huge sense of achievement again. So when I was working it out, I think there's like almost six magical moments people can have, within a short period of time, and that's without the group dynamics that's going to be brought. They're going to be a strong unit, because everybody's going to go through this together. Like this. And we see it time and time again, because then that's our job to facilitate that and create that right environment. So sounds mega. So people watching, where can they go? Where can they learn more? How can they book tickets? How can they book or arrange a call with yourself?
So I think the best way is through my website, so through www.euphrenity.com. I'm going to spell Euphrenity because some people struggle with this. It's a mash word of euphoria and serenity. So very simply, it's EUPHRENTY, euphrenity.com. And you can get in contact with me through my website. You can DM me on Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn too.
Yeah, and we'll stick a little link below this video, whatever social media, with a direct link straight to the website. Get across, have a little look. If it is of interest to you, please reach out to Lisa. Her email address is there. Just drop her a message and we'll arrange a call. And We have only got 12 spaces available on this next intake of Euphrenity and the resilience code. So be quick and get that call booked in as soon as you possibly can, and I'm sure you won't regret it. It'll be the best step you've taken for a long time. So we look forward to seeing you there. Cheers now, bye.